Forbidden secrets exposed. I returned to my bone-chilling town and discovered 7 terrifying truths. Fogwood was shrouded in a thick mist that seemed to cling to the streets like a cold hand gripping a whisper of despair. My heart raced as I crossed the town line. I clenched the steering wheel. Memories flooded my mind. It had been almost a decade since I had last stepped foot in this cursed place, and the sense of foreboding was palpable. As I drove down the desolate main street, I couldn't help but remember the laughter and joy that used to fill this town. The fairs, the picnics, the bonfires were all but ghostly echoes now. But Fogwood was more than abandoned homes. It held secrets, 7 secrets that gnawed at the very edges of its being. My friends, the only souls left, felt it too, their eyes haunted by shadows that loomed ever closer. Each door I passed was like a coffin, locking away the dreams of lives once lived. Odd shimmerings danced in the corners of my vision, fleeting and ethereal, like fleeting memories that hung just out of reach. Then there was the weight of silence so intense it hummed in my ears. I had returned to find that the community I loved was bursting with hidden fears, almost like they were the town's last line of defense against whatever haunted them. I felt hollow, guilty for leaving, for serving my country, while they remained trapped in this never-ending nightmare. Each friend was a reflection of that fear, twisted and distorted. Their eyes darted sideways, searching for something unseen. I had to break through, reach out, and bring light back to Fogwood. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Word had spread quickly that something sinister clung to Fogwood's history. A pact, forged generations ago, exchanged the townspeople's dreams for prosperity, yet a dark entity loomed, demanding tribute, preying on each individual's greatest fears. The clouds writhed above, squelching the last remnants of hope. As tensions surfaced, I gathered my childhood friends in the old church, the last bastion against the pervasive gloom. Their faces were pale, trapped in a cycle of dread and doubt. Fear washed over me with each revelation. Could we really face this together? Our communal responsibility felt like shackles weighing us down. Would saving Fogwood mean losing ourselves? I felt the enormity of it all grinding against my chest. Just as this weight nearly crushed me, betrayal sliced through the air. Someone among us was harboring secrets of their own. As I stared into the eyes of one of my oldest friends, the fog seemed to quiver with anticipation, revealing the truth that perhaps the deepest darkness was within our own circle. Could we confront the spirit? Or would our own fears unravel the very fabric of our unity? The fog thickened, cloaking us in uncertainty, leaving us standing on the edge of chaos and resolution. A decision looming as heavy as the mist enveloping old Fogwood. The air crackled with tension, and as I held my friend's gaze, I felt the world shift around us. The chapel, which had always felt like a sanctuary, suddenly closed in, its walls echoing with unspoken fears. I could see hearts racing and breaths hitching. The shadows no longer just believed, they lived among us. Someone here knows more. I finally whispered, breaking the silence. It felt like a match striking against a kindling of dread. I shot around the room, lighting with anxiety. Michael, always the one to joke, stood rigid, his pale skin contrasting sharply against the dark wood of the pews. His hands trembled slightly, and I could see the underlying fear ripple through him like a tide. "Enough!" he suddenly barked, his voice cutting through the tension with a sharpness that surprised us all. Everyone jumped. "We can't just stand here throwing accusations. We need a plan. But who would we trust?" The room was filled with our shared history, but also with buried resentments and deep-seated secrets. Calvin, sitting next to Michael, nodded slowly, his expression unreadable. What if we do have a traitor among us? What if they are the reason we keep spiraling into this darkness? His voice was low and urgent, each word a stone thrown into the still water, creating ripples of uncertainty. The shadows shifted again, and I felt it. An invisible presence bearing down upon us, reminding us we were not alone. My breath caught in my throat, and instinctively, I stepped back. "In the woods," I said suddenly, the words spilling from my lips. "The old well. We need to confront whatever is down there. It's where it all began." My heart thundered as I thought of the legends we had grown up with, warnings about the well, a place where the veil between our world and whatever haunted us was thinned. But what if it's not just a legend? Sarah piped up, her voice thin and shaky. What if we really do bring something back? Her wide eyes flickered with fear. What choice do we have? I pressed, desperation spilling into my tone. If we don't face it, we let it consume us. If there's a chance we can break this curse, we have to take it. A low murmur swept through the group, the weight of my words settling uncomfortably in their minds. With a collective nod, our pact formed. We would go to the well. But as we began to gather our courage, an ominous bang rattled the heavy church doors, causing us all to jump. The sound echoed, reverberating like a heartbeat in the silence that followed. "What was that?" Michael stammered, his bravado evaporating as panic painted his features. Before I could answer, the door swung open, revealing nothing but the swirling mist outside. It sent a shiver racing down my spine. The fog seemed to stir, swirling into darker shapes, coiling like serpents around our legs, hungry and expectant. Then a voice came from the darkness, low and haunting. "You shouldn't be here." We froze, eyes wide. The unmistakable feeling of being watched clawed at our backs. The betrayal, the truths, the very spirits we sought to confront felt more alive than ever. Fear clutched at my heart, but I couldn't show it. Not now. The door slammed shut. We had crossed a line that could not be uncrossed. My pulse raced, ablaze with adrenaline, as I realized we were ensnared in a web far more sinister than the secrets we carried. The moment had come to face our darkest realities. Secrets wouldn't remain hidden for long. What awaited us in the woods was a truth that might wound deeper than any betrayal. Would we survive the reveal? The path to the well seemed suddenly treacherous, and I felt the flicker of hope dim in my chest. As we prepared to face the unknown, the question loomed large. Would we confront our worst fears, or would they consume us whole? The ground beneath our feet felt unstable. Shadows danced on the walls, flickering like the last gasps of a dying flame. I could see the apprehension on each face, mirrored in their wide eyes. It was no longer just about the well. It was about the darkness that had knitted itself into our lives. "What do we do now?" Calvin asked, his voice barely breaking the oppressive silence. Fear wrapped tightly around him, and I noticed his fingers clenching the edge of the pew. "First, we need to stay together," I said decisively. "If something is out there, it won't pick us off one by one while we're in a group." Sarah shivered beside me, her breath hitching in her throat. "But what if we can't protect each other? What if the darkness is stronger than we are? What if we're stronger than the darkness?" I countered, more to reassure myself than her. But deep down I felt the knot of dread tightening. The whispers had come for us now. Michael stepped closer, his resolve faltering. "What did it mean you shouldn't be here?" He scanned the misty chapel, seeking something unseen. "Is this a threat? A warning?" Before I could respond, a loud crash echoed from the chapel entrance, startling us all. The doors violently swung open again, revealing the swirling fog dancing ominously at our feet like malevolent spirits. This time it felt different, like the air had changed, charged with an unspoken energy. "I think they want us to come outside," I said, my voice trembling with uncertainty. "Are you insane?" Calvin shot back, his eyes glittering with panic. "We could be walking into a trap. We already have no idea what we're dealing with. Or we could ignore it," I said sharply, weighing our options, "and risk it coming for us inside, where it's dark and we're trapped." I drew a deep breath. "Listen, whatever is waiting for us, it's not just in the woods. It's here too. Any hint of hope lies outside those doors." "The well," Michael muttered, fear-laden memories flooding back. If we go, we should take something protection. Salt. Steel. Does that even work? Sarah asked nervously. Calvin gripped the handle of a nearby candlestick, his hands shaking as he eyed the door. The determination shining in his eyes cut through the fear. Whatever it is, we'll confront it together. I don't know if that's a good idea or a reckless one, but I'm in. Are all of you? One by one, our nods felt like armor against the growing dread. We were a team, anchored by shared history and the undeniable urgency to seek the truth. Okay, here's our plan, I declared, taking charge with the clarity of conviction. We step outside, staying in formation. If we feel overwhelmed, we regroup and retreat. No questions. Our goal is the well. A moment passed, us lost in each other's resolve. Then, with a deep breath, we stepped forward. Outside, the fog curled around us, thick as velvet, transforming familiar shapes into threatening silhouettes. I could feel the chill seep into my bones. Darkness felt alive, moving like a predator stalking its prey. The well is over there, I pointed, my voice barely breaking through the weight of the air. Then, as we moved closer, a distant sound pierced the silence, a soft, sinister laughter floating through the trees, echoing the very essence of our fears. My heart sank. It felt like the whispers of our ghosts, come to reclaim us. Did you hear that? Sarah gasped, her eyes wide, reflecting the flickering shadows. We need to keep moving, I urged, adrenaline surging as we quickened our pace. The laughter twisted into something more, deeper, more sinister, as if it were closer than before. But as we neared the well, the ground began to tremble beneath us, a low growl vibrating through the trees. The air thickened, and I realized there was something more waiting for us than just whispers. With our breaths hitching and dread tightening our chests, an overwhelming question loomed. Was whatever waited at the well worse than the darkness that had already engulfed us? The moment we peered into the well, the echo of our decision would change everything. The well loomed ahead, its mouth gaping like a dark abyss, ready to swallow us whole. A swirling mist crept around its edges, tendrils reaching toward our feet, urging us to step back, to reconsider the weight of our choice. Are we really doing this? Calvin's voice shook with anxiety, reverberating in the eerie silence that surrounded us. Look, we need answers, I replied, my heart pounding hard. The laughter lingered, bouncing between the trees, mocking us, taunting our efforts to confront our past. I squinted into the darkness of the well, hoping to decipher its secrets from the depths. Sarah stepped forward, the light from the chapel flickering behind us like a dying ember, a reminder that our safety was limited. If we just look, if we don't like what we find, we can always leave, right? We might not have that choice, Michael countered, his voice low. If we look into the well and something tries to pull us in, then we fight. I interrupted sharply, sensing the rising tide of fear among us. Together, before another word could escape our lips, the growling intensified, a rhythmic vibration shaking the ground underfoot. The trees trembled like they were alive, bending to some unseen will. Panic painted itself vividly across our faces. We could feel it, a sinister presence closing in. Now, I commanded, moving closer to the edge. We peer inside. We find out what this is about. Calvin hesitated, his eyes darting between the well and the looming fog. What if it's not just darkness? What if it's something alive? Only one way to find out, I could barely say, tension tightening my throat. I knelt, leaning into the well's shadowy mouth, trying to pierce the void, searching for anything. Then, just as I was about to call out, the ground shook violently. It felt like an earthquake ripping through the ground, each rumble sending electric shockwaves through my bones. I stumbled, bracing myself with a hand at the edge of the well. Get back, Michael shouted, as if the words alone could save us. But it was too late. Bright lights erupted from the well's interior, blinding and surreal, washing over us like an overwhelming tide. Shadows danced within the brightness, shifting and twisting like desperate souls fighting against chains. Look, Sarah pointed, her voice barely a whisper, yet it sliced through the chaos. What's happening? I squinted through the blinding light, and then I saw them. Horrific faces, twisted in agony, mouths wide in silent screams, as if they were caught in a continuum of despair. They flickered like faulty neon signs, and each face seemed familiar, mirroring the grim realities we'd all been avoiding. No, Calvin breathed, recoiling. The light pulsed, amplifying the growing sense of dread. What if this is a trap? I thought, panic clawing at my insides. What if it's inviting us in, luring us down into its grasp? Then the laughter roared back, overwhelming any rational thought. It was close now, echoing all around us, reverberating in our bones, as if laughing at our fragile humanity. Retreat! I shouted blindly, trying to pull them back away from the well. But the ground heaved beneath us, cracking, and I stumbled against a root. I felt a sudden icy grip around my ankle. Help! I cried, but my voice was lost amidst the chaos. Calvin and Michael reached for me, but the shadows at my feet were relentless, dragging me closer to the well's edge. I could feel my heart racing, pounding against the confines of my chest as I fought against the force pulling me downward. Then, with a last burst of adrenaline, I kicked away from the darkness, freeing myself just enough to roll away from the edge. Get back! I gasped, struggling to catch my breath. But as I turned to look back, the light from the well dimmed as quickly as it had flared, leaving only echoes and fleeting shadows. And in that moment of quiet, I sensed that the darkness had not just stirred. It had awakened. Did you see that? Sarah whispered breathlessly, her eyes wide with terror. Something is in there, I murmured, the cold fear gnawing deeper into my soul. It was no longer just whispers threatening us. It was promises of horrors waiting, scheming. What had we awoken, and how deep did the shadows run? With uncertainty hanging heavy in the air, a new question took hold. What if the well held secrets far worse than we ever imagined? The quiet enveloped us like a suffocating blanket, yet I could still hear the faint whisper of the wind as it made its way through the leaves. My heart raced, each beat echoing the unrelenting fear in my chest. Did it really just? Calvin stammered, unable to finish his thought. His eyes darted between the well and us, wide with disbelief. I don't know, I replied, struggling to regain my composure. But we need to get out of here, now. Sarah looked over her shoulder, her expression so pale I feared she might faint. What if that light, what if it means something? What if it was calling to us? Or warning us? Michael replied, his fists clenched, determination in his eyes. Whatever we saw, it was bad. And it wasn't just a trick. We need to shut this down. You don't just shut down a well. Calvin spat back, frustration seeping through his fear. It's been here for centuries. We should look deeper, not run away. Look deeper? Are you insane? I snapped, heat rising in my cheeks. If it was deep enough for that light, who knows how far the darkness goes. Each face, those weren't just shadows. Sarah's voice trembled. They were people. They looked like people we've lost. I finished her sentence, the horror of her revelation seeping into my bones. Those could be our friends, our families. What if they're gone because of this place? Maybe they weren't lost, Michael said, a grim realization settling in. Maybe they just didn't escape. The thought snagged in my throat, tightening like a vice. What had we unknowingly unearthed? I glanced again at the well. It now loomed before us, a jagged, gaping maw of twisted secrets and fear. We stumbled back, taking a few hesitant steps away from the unnerving abyss. But even as we distanced ourselves from the well, something weighed heavy on my heart. It was as if the air had thickened with 1,000 unresolved emotions, pressing against my chest. Then, a sickening burst of laughter erupted from the well, raucous and wild, sending chills down my spine. The sound echoed, ricocheted off the trees, dizzying and suffocating, engulfing us in darkness. We need to go, I urged, grabbing Sarah's hand, trying to pull her away. Yet in that moment, she froze, staring into the well as though something had pierced her soul. No, she shouted suddenly, yanking her hand free. What if there's a way to help them? We can't just abandon them. Calvin stepped closer. Sarah, You saw what was in there. Whatever lives in that darkness, it wants us. We can't help them if we end up like them. The panic in her eyes shifted to determination, a dangerous spark lighting her features. No, listen. If those faces were people we know, maybe they have something to tell us. A clue. A warning, anything. Think this through. Michael cried out, urgency seeping into his voice. Are you willing to risk everything just to find clarity? It could cost you your life. But she remained resolute, swallowed by the fear of failure mingled with an unrelenting hope. What if we can change their fate? Fates shouldn't end in despair. We have to try. The laughter grew louder, painting an ominous backdrop to her words. The decision loomed before us, blending into a thin line between bravery and foolishness. What are we doing? I whispered, my stomach twisting. Do we fight, or do we abandon our past? With the choices laid bare before us, I felt the fringes of my courage fray, the well's darkness whispering sweetly to abandon reason. I glanced at Calvin and Michael, silently searching for strength in their eyes. Then came the faintest of murmurs from the well, laced with desperate calls that twisted my gut, urging us to draw closer, to uncover what lay hidden beneath its depths. Let us face this, I finally said, my voice steadied against the storm brewing within. Together, as we moved back toward the well, shadows started to coalesce into forms, revealing more than just faces. They swirled with hidden intentions, awaiting our arrival. And just as we poised ourselves to peer into the shadows below once more, a strong wind swept through the clearing, making the trees shudder. But then, a bone-chilling hiss escaped the well's dark mouth, an invitation to a game far older than any of us could fathom. What had we unleashed, and what price would we pay for the truth? The shadows in the well twisted and writhed, forming faces and figures that seemed both familiar and foreign at the same time. The air thickened with an unsettling energy, making it hard to breathe. My heart pounded as I felt the pull of those desperate gazes reaching for me, seeking recognition or perhaps salvation. We can't just stand here, Calvin shouted, confidence teetering on the edge of panic. We need a plan. Sarah took a hesitant step forward. Maybe, if we call out to them? Her voice wavered, infectious doubt edging in. Are you crazy? Michael shot back. You really think they'll respond? That's a death wish. But Sarah, fueled by a determination I couldn't quite understand, took another step, her voice rising above the fear. If they're trapped, they might be waiting for help. We can't turn our backs. Before Michael could pull her back, I felt compelled to join her. Wait, I whispered, desperation clawing at my insides. What if we could learn something important? What if there's a chance? A collective breath hung between us, but Calvin's expression darkened. You're gonna risk our lives for some ghosts? That's not helping them. That's saving ourselves. The laughter from the well erupted again, echoing hauntingly through the trees, as if mocking our doubt. I could almost see the shadows shifting in excitement. This was their stage, their moment, and we were the unwitting actors. Think about it, I shouted, scrambling for an argument that might bring us back. Last time we ignored our instincts, it nearly cost us everything. Whatever is down there knows us. It's playing with us. Sarah spun around to face me, her eyes blazing with fear and hope. Maybe we can turn the game in our favor. We owe it to them, to all of them. The wind picked up, wrapping around us. The trees creaked, branches swaying as though they were trying to warn us. Each of us felt the chill in our bones, but I could also sense something else, a hidden urgency. A call buried deep beneath the terror. We hesitated, clinging to the thin thread of courage. Calvin broke the silence. All right, if we're doing this, we do it together. But we need to be careful. We can't let whatever's down there get the upper hand. Michael nodded reluctantly, his fists clenched, but he stepped closer to Sarah, clearly deciding against leaving her behind. Okay, I said, my heart racing. Let us do it. We formed a chain, fingers gripping each other tightly. The moment felt surreal, like stepping into a dark tunnel where light had no place. On the count of 3, I murmured, my voice breaking. The shadows in the well seemed to pulsate, urging us onward, promising both dread and liberation. 1, 2, a loud thump echoed from within the well, shaking the ground beneath our feet. 3, we shouted together, voices mingling with the darkness as we leaned closer to the abyss. I peered into the depths, squinting through the haze, and that's when I saw them. Faces emerged more clearly, mouths forming words, silent screams that echoed in my mind, urging me to listen. And just as I began to focus, a guttural sound erupted from the depths, drowning out everything. It wasn't laughter this time, it was a roar, primal and filled with rage, reverberating through the very air we breathed. "Run!" I shouted, the instinct to flee kicking in. But in that terrifying moment, something else happened. An icy grip caught my ankle, pulling me toward the well, pulling me into its depths. "Help!" I screamed, clawing at the ground as the others grabbed at me, panic spreading like wildfire. But the shadows were hungry. They wanted their secrets shared. They wanted to drag more into their void. With terror flooding my veins, I felt the darkness crawl up my legs, whispering promises of fate. Time stretched into agony as screams filled the night, and I knew we were about to uncover horrors beyond what we could ever imagine. What choice would we make now as escape became a fading hope, and darkness demanded its due? The grip around my ankle tightened, cold tendrils snaking up my leg as if they were vines spiraling around a tree. Fear rippled through me. I fought against the dark, inching back toward the safety of my friends. Panic surged, and I screamed again, a raw, desperate sound that echoed back from the well, mocking my fear. "Hold on," Calvin yelled, his fingers clutching my wrists with a vice-like grip. I could feel his terror, mingled with the determination to save me. Sarah and Michael strained beside him, pulling with every ounce of strength they had. "Don't let go," Sarah cried, her voice a lifeline in the chaos. The air was thick with dread, but her courage seeped into me, igniting a spark of hope. I dug my fingers into the earth, clawing for any shred of solid ground. But something unseen tugged at me, urging me forward, deeper into the abyss. Another guttural roar roiled from the depths, vibrating through the floor and shaking my bones. The laughter had turned into a lament, a desperate wail that filled my mind with despair. "Keep pulling," I gasped, my voice strangled. I could see it now, more faces, twisted in agony and hunger, their silent screams turning my heart into lead. They were not just trapped. They were waiting for release, and the price for that release was heavy. They wanted us. Then, just as I thought I would be consumed completely, an ethereal light flickered deep within the well, a shimmering beacon amidst the darkness. It danced like a candle, beckoning me closer. I felt it pulling at my very soul, joy and terror intermingling in that soft glow. Promised answers to questions I couldn't yet formulate. "Stop right there," Michael shouted, his voice tinged with panic. "Don't go near that light." But it was like a siren song, alluring and haunting all at once. I could feel the shadows release their grip as they turned toward the light, momentarily distracted by its brilliance. "Pull!" Calvin roared, his muscles straining as he fought against the forces threatening to take me. And somehow they did. They relented, or perhaps they didn't want to share their prize just yet. I was thrust back from the edge, landing hard against the ground. The breath knocked from my lungs. I gasped in the cool night air, feeling the weight of my friends' bodies pressing around me. Their faces held expressions of disbelief and fear, echoing the tumult that roiled inside me. "What just happened?" I panted, trying to gather my thoughts. "Did you see that light?" "That wasn't light. That was a trick," Calvin shouted, his voice quivering but resolute. "They want to lure us in, don't you see?" "Then why did it feel so right?" I retorted, anger mixing with confusion. Sarah, eyes wide with newfound realization, spoke softly. "But what if the light was not just a trap? What if it contained the truth we're looking for?" Her words hung in the air, thick with implications. Each of us exchanged haunted glances, the gravity of our situation pulling us back into the moment. Desperation clawed something deep inside me. "What do we do now? Do we go back?" "Back where?" Michael snapped, To the monsters calling us by name, or to the shadows that want us gone? A shudder coursed through us, as if the earth beneath our feet heard our deliberations and groaned in response. Shadows danced along the edges of our circle, drawing nearer, as if emboldened by our hesitations. "Let us go, please," I urged, adrenaline pulsing through my veins. But I sensed we could not flee forever. The shadows were wise. They would wait for us to crack under the pressure. "Whatever is in that well," Calvin said, his voice steely now, "it's not just looking for us. It's using our own weaknesses against us." Suddenly, the ground trembled again, splitting open around us with a deafening roar. Dark tendrils reached out, pulling at our feet. The cacophony of shrieks and buzzes rose into a fever pitch, and it was clear. We had awakened something deeper, something far worse. "Run!" I screamed again, but deep down, a truth was surfacing, a creeping realization that escape might not be an option anymore. The well was not just a passage. It was a conduit, a portal, and we had stepped unwittingly into a game much larger than ourselves. As we scrambled back, hearts in our throats, I couldn't shake the feeling that the real challenge was yet to come. My mind raced, wondering what awaited us back in that eerie glow, inching ever closer to the moment we would have to face the truth buried beneath fear. What dark revelations lay ahead as we sprinted away, hearts pounding, and fate cascading toward us like an avalanche? We sprinted blindly through the underbrush, the night air scraping against our skin. Breaths came in ragged gasps, echoing our pounding hearts as we stumbled over roots and rocks. The shadows from the well seemed to extend, creeping closer, hungry for those who dared to challenge them. "Faster!" I urged, glancing behind us. The blackness clung to our heels, each rustle in the foliage sounding like a whisper of our doom. I felt Calvin's grip slip briefly as he tried to keep pace, his eyes wide with a mix of fear and determination. The thicket opened up to a clearing, the moonlight spilling over us like a welcome embrace. But it did nothing to wash away the chill of imminent dread. We paused, panting, and I fought to calm my racing thoughts. Sarah's wide eyes met mine, and I saw the fear mirrored there. What had we awakened? What if it was more than just a lure? I said, breaking the heavy silence. What if the light held the key to everything? Calvin moved to interject, but before he could speak, the ground beneath us trembled again, this time stronger, as if something beneath was thrashing violently. I stumbled back, grabbing Sarah's arm to steady myself. "Did you feel that?" Michael shouted, his voice rising above the cacophony of our surroundings. "This doesn't end well for us." "We can't run forever," Sarah said, panic edging her tone. "We have to confront it. We can't let it take us." Her words struck a chord deep within me. We had narrowly escaped, but each moment spent away from that well felt like a countdown, the shadows waiting patiently, watching us. Maybe, just maybe, I hesitated. "We need to go back. Not for the light, but for the answers buried in it. We need to know what we're dealing with." Calvin shook his head. "You can't be serious. It's a trap. Can't you see that? It's our only way." I insisted, feeling the weight of hope and despair battling inside me. What if we could release those trapped souls? What if there's a chance? "No," Michael interrupted, the urgency in his voice not lost on us. "What if you become one of them? You don't know what its true nature is." As we debated, a cold wind swept through the clearing, dark and foreboding. It whirled around us, stinging my skin and snatching the breath from my lungs. Then, amid our chaotic thoughts, a piercing scream sliced through the night. It was a chilling sound that spiraled from the well's depths, reverberating through the forest. The anguished cries of lost souls echoed back to us, a reminder of our impending doom. "Do you hear that?" Calvin breathed, horror dawning on his face. "It's calling, it wants us." I felt my heart race again, as fear needle-pricked my ribs. "We can't ignore this. We need to be brave." Sarah stepped forward, shaking but resolute. "Fine. If we're going back, we do it together, no one separates. We stand as one." The group nodded, a silent agreement binding us tightly, and we slowly turned back toward the well, the weight of trepidation looming over us. As we crept closer, The glowing light flickered ominously, beckoning me like an old friend. What if the light isn't evil? What if we can harness it? I whispered, driven by a sudden surge of courage. But as we stood before the edge, ready to confront whatever lay deep within, the ground quaked violently once more. The sound of laughter, haunting and twisted, filtered through the air. The darkness rippled and surged, like a living thing, eager to devour. Each step felt surreal as I peered into the well. The light flickered again, revealing flickers of faces warped in terror, yet their eyes spoke of longing. With one last breath, we leaned forward into the depths, the truth just a heartbeat away. What awaited us on the other side of that light? Would we find answers, or would we fall prey to the shadows that danced provocatively before us? As the whispers drew nearer, thick with could-be truths, I realized that our fate was intertwined with theirs. We were all strangely connected, and the revelation of our pasts lay just within reach. But in that chilling moment, I knew with certainty this was only the beginning. What horrifying truth would we uncover in the darkness? And would we survive what we chose to discover? The air shattered with tension as we peered into the well's inky depths, the tantalizing light spilling forth almost invitingly. A second later, another tremor rippled through the ground, stronger this time, and I could feel the weight of its malevolence pressing down on my chest. Maybe we should just go, Calvin croaked, the fight draining from him. No, I insisted, my voice firm even as my heart raced. We can't turn back now. There's something here, something we need to understand. Michael's brow furrowed, his expression a mixture of dread and disbelief. You think we can just reason with whatever that is? It's not a puzzle to be solved. With a deep breath, Sarah stepped closer to the well, her courage igniting my own. We can't let fear rule us. We owe it to those who came before us, and maybe they're not lost after all. Maybe they're waiting. Just as her words settled into reality, the lantern-like glow morphed into a spectral swirl, and from its depths, strange voices began to rise. Whispers wove through the clearing, weaving a tapestry of cries and laughter, a cacophony that gnawed at my sanity. Help us, a voice wailed, a long-lost echo that twisted my gut. Release us, did you hear that? Calvin's voice was shaky, barely a whisper. They want help, or they want us to join them. I shuddered, clutching Sarah's hand in a grip so tight it nearly hurt. No, we need to stay strong. We can't give in to fear. But fear was already spilling from my every pore, turning the air thick and suffocating. With gritted teeth, I glanced into the well. Faces, distorted by anguish, flashed in and out of focus. Their eyes were wide, pleading. They seemed to stretch out toward us, through the walls of darkness, filled with a desperation that tugged at my heart. Don't get too close, Michael shouted, stepping back as if shielding himself from an invisible force. In a burst of resolve, I took a step forward, breaking our circle. We need to understand what we're up against. Wait, Calvin shouted, panic flaring in his eyes. But it was too late. My curiosity pulled me deeper, closer. The light shimmered, revealing flickers of past lives trapped in pain. Each shimmer was like a pulse, a heartbeat drawing me down. Don't, Sarah cried, her voice cutting through the fog of uncertainty. This isn't just about you anymore. The moment felt suspended, as if time had abandoned us. I glanced back at my friends, our eyes locked in a moment that felt thick with histories we couldn't change. And then I dove deeper into the well, my heart in my throat. Suddenly, I was engulfed in the light, blinding yet oddly comforting. I could feel the warmth seep into my bones, washing over my despair, offering solace. But that solace was deceiving, I realized. It held an undercurrent of darkness, a whisper of danger swirling through it. Look, a single focus roared through my mind as I saw them, the trapped souls twisting together in a grotesque ballet of sorrow and regret. Their hands reached out, seeking something from me, something beyond escape, and then I felt it, the weight of responsibility, an urgency that layered upon my conscience like a heavy shroud. What do you want? I breathed, my voice trembling. The light pulsed, illuminating each face and revealing their tragedies. I saw lives shattered by greed, by betrayal, and pain so deep it resonated within me. My breath caught. It was a storm of unresolved stories begging to be told. Just then, a jolt ran up my spine as the ground beneath us quaked violently. The laughter returned, more sinister this time, echoing as if from 100 throats. "Get back," Michael screamed, tugging at Sarah. But I was glued to the spot, caught between their desperate cries and the terrifying truth that unfolded before me. What if I had the power to change this? To redeem the souls that hungered for resolution? Was that what they were urging me to take action for? The chilling whisper resonated again, more pronounced and sinister, shattering my thoughts. "Join us or perish." All the air rushed out of me, my body freezing as the suffocating truth settled in. We weren't simply allies. We were players in a game spun by darkness, the stakes straddling life and the abyss. I had crossed that invisible line and felt it. This was an awakening. Yet, the stakes threatened more than my life. They encircled my friends, too. As the echoing laughter faded into the darkness, I realized we had stepped into a nightmare more complex than we could have ever imagined. What awaited us on the other side? Could we survive the depth of our choices? And as the light flickered ominously, retching back from the well's edge, a final thought burned within me. Would we embrace the darkness or let it swallow us whole? The world trembled beneath our feet, a warning tremor whispering through the trees. The abyss of the well loomed, shadows beckoning with a clawing desperation. My heart thudded wildly, the gravity of our decision weighing heavier with each breath. Silence enveloped us, thick like fog, but it was broken by Sarah. "What if we can change this?" she uttered, hope mingling with fear. Calvin's eyes narrowed, disbelief painting his features. "Change what? The shadows want to keep us. Maybe we can reach those trapped souls." She interrupted, her voice breaking free from despair. "We owe it to them to try. They're calling for us." Detrimental urgency surged through me, igniting a flame of possibility I hadn't allowed myself to explore. I stepped up beside Sarah, glancing back at my friends. "She's right. If we don't try, we'll never forgive ourselves." Michael hesitated, torn between caution and a strange pull of solidarity. I could see his resolve wavering as fear clung to him like the damp chill of the mist surrounding us. The world around us felt charged, alive with a potency I couldn't shake. Another rumble vibrated through the earth, yet we stood firm, bound by a single desire to protect those souls imprisoned in anguish, a desire to understand. With a deep breath, we stepped closer to the mouth of the well, hearts racing like wild horses in a stampede. Each heartbeat matched the frantic echo of laughter rising from the depths, a cacophony of tormented souls who sought release. On three, I urged, gripping Sarah's hand tightly. 1, 2. As we reached the edge together, the light from inside the well pulsed, alive and flickering, an open door to both salvation and doom. 3. We leaned in, eyes wide, gazing into that abyss. The moment hung in the air, fragile and electric. The glow burst forth, illuminating the shadows trapped within, revealing the faces I had only glimpsed before. Each projection flickered with torment, but also with the essence of life, a bittersweet reminder of humanity. "Help us, save us," they cried, the whispers mingling with the howling wind. Each voice collided in unison, and I felt a deep resonance within me, a connection that surged through my veins. I could almost taste the weight of their sorrow. "We can break the curse," I exclaimed, a rush of adrenaline propelling me forward, bold and fearless against the darkness. "We can set them free." But then, the laughter crescendoed, twisting into something malignant. Shadows reached out, curling around my limbs like chains, potent and unyielding. Dread spiraled in my gut as I fought to break free, the sense of the ethereal light warring against the tendrils of despair. Together, Calvin shouted, determination igniting an intensity one hadn't felt in years. "Pull us back if we fall." Summoning every ounce of courage, I thrust my hands toward the glowing mist, allowing myself to connect. "We will help you." My voice reverberated, a promise echoing through the depths. The well thrummed with energy, the darkness reacting violently as if to challenge our resolve. "Release the past," I yelled, my heart a roaring drum as we focused on the trapped echoes. "Let us go. We will not abandon you," Sarah shouted, conviction empowering her words. The faces writhed and twisted, eyes widening, seams between the living and the lost blurring. For a moment, we held the promise of a breakthrough, a bridge to rediscover hope. Their release hinged on our willingness to face the truth behind the darkness. Then, with a tumultuous crash, the ground shook violently as the well retaliated, barely containing its grievances. The laughter transformed into anguished screams, wrapping around us like a noose. "You belong to us. In courage we stand," I commanded, clutching Sarah's hand tighter as belief surged through my body. "We fight for the light." Fueled by shared desperation and strength, we surged together toward the light, faces locked in determination. The brilliant glow intensified, blinding, illuminating that darkness that sought to consume us all. As the shadows loosened their grip, whispers of hope drowned out the chaos, giving voice to our strength, our tenacity, our unity. "Feel the light," I shouted as I stepped into the shimmering stream, accepting the connection of countless souls, their fate entwined with ours. In the next heartbeat, the howls of the long-lost echoed through the trees, followed by a piercing silence enveloped us all. The world shifted, the well oscillating with energy until it exploded outward, washing us with light, a torrent of brilliance. I squeezed my eyes shut against the blinding flare, and when it finally faded, I felt different, lighter. The mist dissolved, revealing our surroundings. The clearing stood pristine, untouched by dark tides, eyes reflecting new beginnings. But we were different now. Bonds formed in the chaos and pain lingered. It was our shared history, full of hope, loss, and courage. "We did it," Sarah breathed, her voice trembling with disbelief and relief. Calvin turned to look at the now quiet well, recognition dawning on his features. "We changed it. Whatever dark force ruled, didn't take us. It's gone." Hope blossomed throughout our group. We were back together, the shadows receding into whispers, as we stepped away from that terrifying place forever. As we fumbled to fill the ache left by the darkness, we felt something profound. The weight of our choice lingered. We had faced the abyss and grasped light within it. Fogwood wasn't cursed anymore. It had been cleansed. Stepping away, I glanced at my friends, and my heart swelled with gratitude. Yes, we had endured. Yes, we emerged transformed. Fogwood would thrive again, not just as a town, but as a testament to our courage. As we made our way home, laughter spilled from our mouths, our voices ringing true. We got what it takes, together, always together. And in that moment, the tangled web of the past finally had a chance to heal. The well was a distant memory now, a moment that could have held us captive, but instead had fueled a blossoming hope. Why? Because we found power in our shared humanity. Now it felt like Fogwood was finally free, as were we. If you've enjoyed this tense journey and want to hear more amazing tales, you need to subscribe to the channel now. Smash that like button for the algorithm to notice these thrilling stories. And I want to hear your reactions. Flood the comments with your theories about this ending. Did we uncover the truth? Share this adventure immediately with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait, not even for a second. Show your support for the channel and keep the magic alive.